Yeah, so the appetites, like the will and your emotions, those are considered appetites. St. Thomas just basically says your will is an intellective or intellectual appetite. And then you have your emotions, right? We won't get into the language because I wish St. Thomas used easier words, but
That's what
that's
we're
those are
for,
the
right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So he basically you have your appetites, what you desire, right? Your will desires the good, right? And then your lower appetites desire what you think is good, the perceived good, right? That is a particular thing, that food, that car, that job, whatever it is, right? What St. Thomas says is the appetites are actually blind faculties. So they cannot move unless they're informed by something,
Mm.
right? Your lower faculties are informed by your senses, what you experience in the world, right? You can see something and be moved. You can feel something experientially, right? I want that steak that I see, the person eating next to me in the booth at the restaurant, right? Or I can have an aversion to something I think is evil for whatever reason, right? So it's a blind faculty. They don't move unless they're given something. And just to your point too, the will, which is also a blind faculty, can't move unless the intellect, assuming, hoping it's properly formed, gives the will the true good to then go and carry out to pursue or receive, right? And so, yeah, it is absolutely crucial that if we want to achieve mental health, and I think of that as like holiness, right? We want to be like Christ.
Yeah.
We need to understand what's going on within our nature so that we can kind of move them and work to correct them in the way that God designed them.
Yeah. Christ was so mentally healthy that he's the divine physician, right? It's
Yes,
like, he's not just
exactly.
mentally healthy. He's the guy that's fixing all of us who are messed up, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
great.
So
I love that.
talk to me here a second here. Do you find that the problem for a lot of guys is a sort of lack of intellectual formation? I know that you're talking about custody of the mind, which is similar to related to intellectual formation, but not the exact same. You feel like a lot of guys just don't know how to be mentally healthy. Like they would do it. They're good people. They're trying to do the right thing, but they just have no idea where to start. Is that kind of what
Mhm.
you're experiencing, or is it something else?
I think that is a big piece of it because men don't know, and men and women, right? But I work mainly with men. They don't know themselves. And I
Yeah.
think when I say know themselves, there's two parts to that. Their nature generally as a human person, but also their particular nature. We have different temperaments and tendencies, inclinations, right? Most men come to me and they have zero clue. All they know is I'm not following through with this. I keep yelling at my kids. I said I was going to do that thing and I'm not. I keep falling into that sin and I told myself the last time was going to be the last time, right? That's what they come to me with. And then what I do is it is that intellectual formation, right? Custody of the mind comes later. You need to know yourself, right? And the example I give is if you are coming to me as your personal trainer, I would imagine I'm not a personal trainer, but I would imagine the person I'm working with, I would like to know their anatomy, their structure, their previous injuries. I would like to know me personally as the fitness coach. I probably should know like the basic structure of a human person and how the muscles work together, right? So that I take what I know about human anatomy and then I understand this person's particular anatomy. And then I say, here's a plan for you and then you're going to build these skills, right? Day in and day out, week by week to achieve a certain goal. That is absolutely absent in modern psychology,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like Thomistic psychology does what modern psychology is supposed to do. Like
Exactly.
it actually gets results and it gives you reasons and it gives you a cause and effect analysis and you remove the cause or
Yes.
change the cause and you get a different effect, right? It's so scientific
Right.
and intellectually pleasing. And as far as the temperaments thing goes, we can maybe do a whole like hour-long
Yeah,
show on
that'll
the
be fun.
temperaments thing. But just for me
Yeah.
personally, my temperament is I am super phlegmatic. I have had to actually work really hard to be less passive, but my natural disposition is to just kind of be chill and go with the flow. I have to work really hard not to be like that. So that's one of the reasons for me I really prioritize going to the gym and lifting heavy weights and doing things that are going to be really challenging and demanding on my body. It's because I know that my body kind of tends in the opposite direction, tends towards
Yes.
stagnation or towards inactivity. And so forcing
Right.
my body in the other direction and being incredibly active working up a sweat, getting a pump, all that fun stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
good for me physically and mentally. And I know that's good for me physically because I know my temperament, right? Whereas I have another
Right.
friend who is very choleric, like so choleric that his doctor, who's going through his hormones and his neurotransmitters and all that, his doctor actually recommended he take a break from the gym for a while because he just got these
Oh,
rage
wow.
hormones all the time, right? And
Yeah.
so it's good to know where you are so that you can try to assess yourself and actually have a plan that's going to work with you and not against you, work for you and not in spite of you.
Right. You're shooting in the dark, right? And
Yeah.
that's the thing is like, in order for us to reach a level of self mastery, it begins with self knowledge, right? And I think the cool thing, too, to your point, Cameron, is what you said about, knowing your own disposition and how you're going to the gym. I think the cool thing, and most people miss this part, it is this: you actually can go to the gym and do the hard thing. You are capable of doing it. It's just uncomfortable. It's just going against your nature, but you can do it. And I think that is so liberating for people when they truly understand that, right? When I break it down, hey, here are your tendencies, your inclinations. Now, they were influenced by your parents. They were influenced by your own nature, your environment, your family of origin, you name it. Here's you right now. When push comes to shove, this is what you do. Here's the amazing thing: you can change them. Every day is an opportunity to go against your nature and towards virtue. And what you'll find is your nature starts to transform based off of the actions you choose to make
Yeah.
every day. And there's power there. That's what actual mental health training is, what the role of a counselor and what I do in high performance coaching actually is. It's shaping you day by day towards the person God is calling you to be. But if you don't know that, if you don't know that you can do that and you don't know yourself, it can seem like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. That's very, very well said. Yeah, I think that for a lot of maybe modern psychology, I'm sure there's good psychologists out there. I'm painting with a broad brush here, admittedly.
Right?
But I feel like a lot of the time it's kind of lending people to a victim mentality. Like these things happened to you. So this is the way that you are. And now we have to make you feel okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Thomistic psychology or counseling or coaching or whatever you want to call it, it's the idea that, yeah, these things happen to you and they shaped you and they might have shaped you poorly. So now you have bad habits, you have bad dispositions, you have some aversion to a good thing and an inclination towards a bad thing. But we can fix
Mm-hmm.
it. And here's how: step by step by step, and we can measure it to a certain degree and you can see the progress, right? So I really, really like that. I would say too, Jocko Willink has a book called Extreme Ownership. I don't know if you've read it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the idea that the victim mentality, the idea that you're not responsible, things happen to you, leads to total disempowerment. And his
Yeah.
book, the entire thesis is do the opposite, right? He says take ownership, extreme ownership, take responsibility for everything that goes wrong that you possibly can in any way that's reasonable at all. Right. If
Mm-hmm.
something goes wrong with, let's say, your wife doesn't get the dishes done or something like that, or doesn't do something that you needed done in order for your day to flow smoothly. Well, I should have communicated that better. That was my fault that I didn't emphasize how important that task was to our day. Right. So you start
Yeah.
by just taking ownership for everything that you possibly can, because the powerful thing is if it's your fault, if you're the problem, you can change things and become the solution. And I
Right.
love that. I love that about what you're doing.
Well, it's like you have a say in the matter, right? Because if all I do, I say, here's everybody else who's not doing what I want them to do, you have no say at that point.
Yeah.
All you do is you hope and pray that someone has an epiphany that the deepest desires of your heart are unmet. And they wake up one day and they're like, I haven't met his desires. What was I thinking? That's just not how it works because they're thinking about their own desires, right? And they're hoping that you meet them, right? We're like, we're missing what the role of the will is, right?
Yeah.
When you actually say, no, you're right. I think that's a great example because it's so like everyday practical, right? I was expecting that my wife just had some sort of wherewithal or really prioritize it just as much as I did, right? To be able to say, like, you know what? We should probably do the dishes right now. But I never communicated to your point that, hey, let's make sure we get the dishes done so you and I have some time to chat and connect before bed, right? It would probably get done
Yeah.
more often than not. right? But what do? I have too many things on my plate, right? I'm too busy reacting to everything that's going on in my own life. And I'm hoping that she will just kind of figure it out so I don't really have to step out and do anything. And, and then I walk out and have an expectation already built. And I go, and what I see is a missed expectation, right? And the emotion follows that
Yeah.
sensual experience right away. And it's usually towards anger more often than not.